Murray already safely through to the semi-finals. He awaits the winner of this one. He'll be back at his hotel now, chilling out, watching this one, safe in the knowledge that he'll be in great shape on Friday because he didn't have to spend too much energy earlier today. And he would dearly love this one to go the distance. Conditions are set fair. The evening matches are always of great interest to all concerned. There's a real buzz. The atmosphere is so much better under lights, and the players, more often than not, will feed off that and produce their very best stuff. Let's hope that's the case this year. Turned pro just 4 years ago, already achieved so much. 3 titles, the first of those won in 2006 in Amersfoort on the clay, and the second in the same year in Metz on a hard court. And of course he was victorious in Adelaide earlier this year as well. And it's been a meteoric rise in the last 2 or 3 years for Djokovic.
He's always had the tools. He's been spoken about a lot when I was still playing. I'd seen him about and they were tipping him to be a good player. He works very hard, has a great attitude for a young guy, and he's had a tough upbringing, and I think that to some degree that helps. You are really motivated to get out of some difficult situations and improve your life perhaps with the professional sport, and he chose tennis. His parents were very good athletes as well.
He's played relatively well throughout the week. You look at the Masters Series events, that's a little bit of a cupcake draw, isn't it?
It certainly is. It's a draw that you would be happy with at any Masters Series. He really dismantled Lopez. That was an absolute clinic. And I was very impressed, and that's part of the reason why I think tonight's contest with Nadal is going to be a good one.
We're looking for a big improvement, especially at the beginning of the match. He needs to start well. That's what he didn't do in Indian Wells, and he was never able to recover once he lost his opening 2 service games. It was too much of a shock to the system. Well, when you talk about previous performances, Nadal's last night was outstanding. And we said that so many times about him. Already 18 singles titles to his name. The first of those came just in 2004 when he was able to win in Poland. Just won the one tournament that year. 2005 was the breakthrough year. Amazingly won tournament after tournament, and including the French Open, of course, successfully defended that title last year. And as I said earlier, has set a record for 87 consecutive weeks at #2. Still nowhere near Federer, but he is undoubtedly the king of clay.
And I think if he wins this tournament, he will send a message to Roger that I am hot on your heels. 2 back-to-back victories here would definitely plant the seed in Federer's mind.
He was a finalist in 2005, and what a match that was against Federer. He led by 2 sets to love. If memory serves, I think it was a break-up in the 3rd. He was also up in the tie-break as well before he ran out of steam for the first and only time in his professional career, lost in 5 sets. But we knew then that he was a little bit special, and so it's proved. He's had some fortune in the draw as well. Olivier Rochus had to pull out, so he got a walk over there. And I think he comes into this match really fresh, and that's good because he played a lot of tennis in Indian Wells. He'll have had to have practiced after that because you've got to get used to the different conditions here. I think the fact that he's won those matches comfortably has really helped him.
It's definitely going to help him, and as I've mentioned before, that match last night against Del Potro was just exquisite tennis. Some of the best tennis I've seen him play in his career. That's how impressed I was.
Well, these two have got a little bit of history to draw upon when facing one another. The first time they played was at the French Open last year. Nadal led by 2 sets to love when Djokovic was forced to retire with a problem with his back. Strangely, after the match, he said, yeah, I thought I was in control of that one. It was a shame that I got injured. Well, maybe he was just preparing to win the next 3 sets. But he certainly wasn't in control of the match that they played in Indian Wells, certainly not that opening set. Never really recovered, but there was just a few signs in the second that he was starting to get used to the occasion and get used to the way that Nadal plays, which is always difficult for players. He's unique, and he's a left-hander, so it always takes time for the right-handers to get used to those various patterns of play that the left-handers use. some local interest in the chair, no longer in the event with the demise of Andy Roddick. So Norm Christ will be flying the American flag as high as he possibly can, as usual. Both players are going to have to serve well. Interestingly, Nadal has messed quite considerably with his service motion since the US Open last year. He tried a longer swing. He tried to get a little bit more of a rocking motion in there, tried to develop a little bit more power. He's gone back to his original motion, but he's still trying to do a little bit more with the ball, and it has been working. He is winning more cheap points with it.
I think it's been the biggest improvement in his game. He was serving so well last week against Roddick in the semis, where he had Roddick guessing and eventually Roddick throwing up his arms because he really didn't know where Nadal was going to serve. Instead of being predictable, normally up the tee on the due side and wide on the ad, he was mixing it up so well. Body serves a lot to the forehand of the right-hander, and hats off to him for developing his game in all sorts of areas and just adding nuances. It's only small things at this level that make a big difference.
So Nadal not here with his uncle this week. Francisco Roy taking care of business. They are a very solid team. Uncle Tony here most of the time courtside, but occasionally has to spend some time with the family, understandably. And Nadal then has plenty of options at his disposal. Been working with Djokovic for a while, and the Serbian was also working with Mark Woodford in Indian Wells, and that certainly helped. Some great results, but I think that was just while he was in California. But always nice to get a second opinion from somebody that's played tennis at the highest level. Doesn't mean that you're going to do everything that they say, but it's just nice to hear some different ideas, and sometimes the same ideas, just from a different person.
I think you hit the nail on the head, and we see that a little bit with Brad Gilbert and Andy Murray, and the same can be said for Andy Roddick in his relationship with Jimmy Connors. No question, Jason.
Well, Djokovic is a very serious player on the ATP Tour, and he comes from a tennis family. He's got siblings that play as well, and there was talk at some stage last year perhaps taking up British citizenship. But it didn't really amount to much. But Britain have been known, Greg Rosetsky, people like that, to poach the odd player here and there, and Djokovic certainly would be a good find. What a Davis Cup team that would be, with Murray and Djokovic in there, with Henman to add a little bit of experience in the next, or the final couple of years of his career. But I don't think that's going to happen, certainly not in the foreseeable future anyway. It's a magnificent stadium in Crandon Park. Players love playing here, especially in the evenings. And you can hear the buzz around the stadium. Nadal, always an exciting player to watch. Wears his heart on his sleeve. So positive, so mature for his age.
And I think that's one of his greatest skills, is his ability to concentrate. We see Andy Murray, who's of a similar sort of age, but doesn't concentrate nearly as well as Nadal. I think perhaps that could be the difference between the two.
The second of our quarterfinals is a repeat of the Indian Wells final, so it should be a good one. We're hoping that Djokovic won't be as nervous as he was back then, and